They called me a cash cow, so I cut them off. My mother once told me that if I didn't pay for her vacation, I was dead to her. After years of being their personal ATM, that was the last check I ever wrote them. This is the story of how my family labeled me their cash cow, and the exact steps I took to shut them down and finally get my own life back. For as long as I can remember, I was the responsible one. It started right after college in my early 20s. I was the first in my family to ever get a degree, and I landed a great job as a software engineer. The salary was more money than anyone in my family had ever seen, and I was so proud. I thought I could finally give back, repay them for all the lean years. Looking back, that pride was the hook they used to reel me in. It all started small. The first time was for my dad. His truck's transmission went out, a repair he couldn't afford. It was about $1,500. Just a loan, of course, he said, clapping me on the shoulder. I'm good for it, you know that. I transferred the money without a second thought. I never saw a dime of it back. When I gently brought it up months later, he just laughed. Come on, we're family, he said. That line became the soundtrack to the next 10 years of my life. Soon after, my sister, Sarah, needed help with her wedding. Not the whole thing she promised, just the photographer and flowers. It's my dream wedding, she pleaded over a family dinner, her eyes all wide and hopeful. The whole family was just looking at me, smiling, waiting. What was I supposed to say? It was $8,000. That was the first time I had to touch my savings, the money I was carefully putting away for a down payment on a house. The loan was never mentioned again. These one-time emergencies became a pattern, and then an expectation. My brother James, who always seemed to be between jobs, needed his rent covered. It started as a 1-month bridge of $1,200. That 1 month turned into 3, then 6. After a year, I was just sending it on autopilot. Then came my mom's emergency dental work for over $5,000. Then my dad's credit card debt from a bunch of sketchy online purchases, another $4,000. It was this constant, draining drip, and with every transfer, I could feel my own dreams getting pushed further and further away. The financial stress was this huge weight on my chest. It led to sleepless nights and a constant low-grade anxiety that just became my new normal. Meanwhile, my brother James was the smart one. He worked odd jobs to fund his hobbies and lived at home rent-free. He'd show up to family gatherings with a new drone or gaming console, and my parents would just beam. Look at James, my dad would say. He really knows how to enjoy life. They never asked him for a penny. He was the golden child, the one to be protected, while I was the workhorse. It was a bitter pill to swallow, knowing I was the one keeping their heads above water. To keep up with all their demands, my own life became a shadow of what it should have been. I was in my late 20s watching my friends buy houses and travel the world. I was living like a broke college student. I ate instant noodles so they could have steak dinners. I hadn't taken a real vacation in over 6 years. My car was a decade old and rattled with every bump, but I could never get enough ahead to even think about replacing it. My savings account was a ghost town. I was pouring tens of thousands of dollars a year into their lives, and what was I getting in return? Just more requests. I felt so taken for granted, and this resentment just started building inside me. The moment that changed everything happened on a Sunday afternoon. I'd come over for a family barbecue, bringing a trunk full of expensive groceries that I'd paid for. I went inside to get a drink and heard their voices from the back porch. They must have thought I was out of earshot. It was my Aunt Carol talking to my mom. You guys have it made, she said with a little chuckle. You've got your own personal cash cow. My heart just stopped. I stood there in the hallway frozen. And my mom, she didn't defend me. She laughed. A light, airy laugh. She doesn't mind, my mother said, her voice dripping with this casual dismissal that cut me deeper than anything. She makes good money. What else would she spend it on? Family comes first. My brother James laughed along. Yeah, she never complains. It's not like she has a mortgage or kids. Cash cow. The words just echoed in my head. That's all I was to them. Not a daughter, not a sister. An animal to be milked for everything I had. I felt this profound emptiness, the kind you get when you realize you've been completely wrong about the people you love. I didn't say anything. I just walked back out, smiled, and played my part for the rest of the day. But inside, something had broken for good. If you've ever felt used or unappreciated by the people who are supposed to love you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Because this story isn't just about the hurt. It's about what happened next when I finally decided to shut the whole farm down. After hearing them call me their cash cow, a switch just flipped. I didn't say anything out loud, but I started doing little things differently. I started testing the waters, saying no to small requests. When my sister Sarah asked for $300 for a weekend trip with her friends, I just said, "Sorry, I can't this month." The look of pure shock on her face said it all. It was never a question of if I would, it was an expectation that I must. All that entitlement that had been simmering for years was suddenly right out in the open. They did not like this new version of me. The guilt trips got more intense. My mom would call, sighing dramatically about some bill she didn't know how she'd pay, a thinly veiled request I was now supposed to just pick up on. The final straw, the one that broke the camel's back and then set the whole camel on fire, came about 3 months later. I got a text in the family group chat from my mom. It was a link to a 10-day luxury Mediterranean cruise. The message underneath read, "Family vacation. This is the one we want. The total for the 5 of us is $15,000. It would be an early birthday present for your father and me. Let me know when you've booked it." I just stared at my phone, my blood running cold. They didn't ask. They sent an invoice for $15,000. They'd already planned it, picked the dates, and decided I was paying for everyone. My mom, my dad, my brother James, my sister Sarah, and her husband. I wasn't even really included in the we. I was just the bank funding their trip. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. I thought about my finances. I had just finished paying off my student loans, a huge milestone I'd reached by being frugal for years. My savings were finally starting to recover. I had a goal, a dream of buying a small condo, of finally having something that was mine. $15,000 would wipe out almost everything I'd rebuilt. It would set me back years. A few minutes later, my dad called. He must have sensed my silence wasn't a good sign. "Hey," he started, his voice a little too cheerful. "Your mother is so excited about this trip. You know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing for us. We want to make memories as a family." "Dad, $15,000 is a lot of money," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Trinity, don't be like that," he said, the cheerfulness gone, replaced by that familiar tone of disappointment. "This is an investment in family memories. You work so hard, you deserve to treat us." The audacity of that. That my hard work entitled them to a luxury I couldn't dream of for myself. It was staggering. I looked at the cruise itinerary. Pictures of smiling couples with champagne on a private balcony. Then I looked at my own bank account. The numbers weren't just in different zip codes, they were in different universes. And in that moment, something inside me didn't just snap, it turned to steel. The hurt was gone, replaced by a quiet, cold anger. The machine was shutting down. The cash cow was walking out of the pasture for good. I was done. My response was simple. I opened the group chat, my hands steady for the first time in days. I typed one sentence and hit send. "I will not be paying for this vacation." No explanations, no apologies. Just a closed door. For about 30 seconds there was silence. Then my phone absolutely exploded. It was a level of anger I was totally unprepared for. I later learned there's a name for this, an extinction burst. It's that massive, frantic lashing out that happens when a source of attention or money is suddenly cut off. "My mother, what do you mean, N.O.? After everything we've done for you? I told you this was for your father's birthday." "My sister, Sarah, you're so incredibly selfish. You're ruining this for everyone. The one time we ask for something nice and you do this." Then a voicemail from my dad, his voice shaking with rage. "I cannot believe how ungrateful you've become," he spat. "You owe us. You selfish brat." For the next 3 hours, it was just a relentless storm of abuse. They called, texted, left voicemails. They called me heartless, selfish, and ungrateful. They accused me of forgetting where I came from. They recruited other family members, the flying monkeys, to do their dirty work. I got texts from aunts and cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, telling me I was tearing the family apart over money. Not a single person asked for my side of the story. I knew then that just saying no wasn't enough. I had to build a fortress. So I took real steps to get my financial freedom back for good. Step 1. I went through my phone and blocked every single person who sent me an abusive message. My parents, my siblings, my aunts, my uncles. All of them. The silence was jarring at first, and then it was beautiful. Step 2. I combed through my finances. Years ago, I'd made my sister an authorized user on a credit card for emergencies. Turns out, her idea of an emergency was a lot different than mine. I called the company, had her name removed, and got a new card. I changed all my online banking passwords. It was about taking back absolute control. Step 3. I wrote one last email to my parents and siblings. It was short and to the point. I wrote, My role as the family's financial support is over, effective immediately. This decision is final and not up for debate. I won't respond to any more requests for money or argue about it. Any future communication needs to be respectful. I was setting a clear boundary not just with my money but with their behavior. The immediate fallout was brutal. My sister put up a vague, passive-aggressive post on social media about selfish people who abandon their family. I heard through a cousin that the cruise was, of course, canceled. My parents apparently fought for weeks, blaming each other for not having a backup plan. My brother James actually had to start looking for a full-time job. But on my side of the wall I had built, there was peace. The constant anxiety in my chest just faded. I slept through the night for the first time in years. The money that would have gone to their cruise, I put into a high-yield savings account. I named it My Future. A few weeks later, I booked a small weekend trip for myself to a cabin in the mountains. It wasn't a $15,000 cruise, but as I sat on that porch watching the sunset with no one to answer to but myself, it felt like the most luxurious thing in the world was mine. It's been over a year now. I've saved more money in this last year than I did in the 5 years before it combined. I put a down payment on a small condo, and the feeling of turning the key in my own front door for the first time, I'll never forget that. They called me a cash cow. Maybe they were right. But they forgot that a cow can always walk out of the pasture, and that the gate closes from the inside. Cutting them off wasn't about revenge, it was about self-preservation. I didn't do it to punish them. I did it to save myself. I've slowly started to rebuild a relationship with my sister. It took her showing up at my door 6 months ago, not asking for anything but with a real apology. It's slow and we're building on fragile new ground. My parents and I still don't speak. Their silence makes it pretty clear that their only real interest in me was my bank account. So I have to ask you, what would you have done? Have you ever had to choose between your family and your own financial and mental survival? Let me know your story in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories about taking your power back. Thanks for watching.